Hello, welcome to a shorter Granada Reports because of the FA Cup coming up later. First, the Polish communities in the northwest trying to do what they can to help Ukrainian refugees. Thousands of people are heading for the Polish border to escape the Russian attack. Our reporter Victoria Grimes has the latest.
Donations to help the most innocent of victims of this conflict. The Polish community in Manchester know they can't stop this war, but they're doing what they can to help. Alicia's Ukrainian friend's fighting on the front line. She hasn't heard from him since a worrying phone call 2 days ago.
He texted me asking me how to stop the bleeding from my leg, and that was the last time I heard from him. We can't just turn our heads and we can't just leave the people who need our help. This is the only thing what we can do. I think the Britain and the British is like a mother. The British, they have a heart of gold. I'm sorry.
An overwhelming generosity showing solidarity with those who are suffering.
We've got quite a lot of nappies, toys for kids, because there is a lot of mothers with kids on the border. We've got medicines, we've got first aid kits, like every single minute someone came with stuff, so it's mind-blowing, it's amazing.
Poland has already welcomed more than 400,000 Ukrainian refugees. Many more are stuck waiting for days to cross the border. It's they who need help the most. And arriving in Poland this morning, the Prime Minister said more would be done to extend the family scheme to allow around 200,000 Ukrainians to come to the UK. He insisted too that sanctions imposed against Russia are working. But his words meant little to this Ukrainian journalist, her home city Kharkiv being shelled as he spoke.
You're coming to Poland, you're not coming to Kiev, Prime Minister. You're not coming to Lviv because you are afraid.
That there is not enough that we can do as the UK government to help in the way that you want.
This is the moment a missile struck at the heart of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second city left smouldering on the front line of Putin's war, marking the start of another day of bombardment. Nearly 2,000 miles away in Cumbria, Andre and Alicia watch in despair, terrified for the young residents of a foster centre they support in their homeland.
Our foster home that has 7 foster kids is now sheltering more than 20 people because they've come from the city where it's more dangerous. And they're now sheltering in our basement in the house. We've always wondered, why do we need such a big basement? Well, now we know.
There's fears too for British nationals still trying to leave the country. Peter Cribley from Liverpool fled west from Kiev with his Ukrainian girlfriend. Their pleas for help with a visa, he says, ignored by the UK government.
We don't know where we're running to after this. We're having to improvise on the go because we're going to have to depend on the kindness of strangers, because we can't depend on the government of the country I was born in.
Tonight, Russia's relentless bombardment continues. The loss already too much in a war which has only just begun. Victoria Grimes, ITV News.
Women on either side of the conflict united in their hope for peace. Olga Asma, who's from Ukraine, and Olga Makarenko, who's from Russia, both live in Manchester. They've been talking to Amy Welch.
They share the same name and the same desire for peace. But Olga Makarenko is Russian and Olga Asma is Ukrainian. And this is the first time they've met.
I've never, ever, ever could have imagined that Russia would invade us. It's like unimaginable.
We first met Olga Asma last week on day 1 of the war. Her mother was born in Russia but married a Ukrainian and has lived most of her life in Kyiv. And when she realised Russia might invade, she flew her to safety.
On the 13th of February, I told her, I don't know what's going on, get out. She's worried so much because all she's thinking about is, it's one thing to think about, obviously, all the other relatives, friends and neighbours and the country as such, and she's thinking, when can I go back now?
She says despite the shelling, most Ukrainians are defiant and want to stay and fight.
Majority of people, they don't want to go anywhere. They just want this to stop and they just want to live in their apartments and houses.
You can see and you can hear the pain that Olga is going through right now. How does that make you feel?
Oh,
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. Some of the videos I just can't watch even on YouTube, and all of a sudden you think, this person that I actually know, it's directly relates to them and their relatives are now in trouble.
Does this war make you feel ashamed to be Russian?
Definitely, yeah. I was, especially at the very, very beginning, when the first couple of days, I was just thinking, oh no, why is he doing this? He's not doing any favors to any Russian on the planet. You know, there's so many Russians all over the world. He's not doing any favors to them.
Olga Makarenko left Russia 20 years ago. She admits some Russians do support Putin, but is proud of those who are making a stand.
Makes me feel really proud of those Russians who are placing themselves in danger in Russia, because it's not safe to just go out and protest, and they still do it. And they still speak on YouTube, on open platforms. They speak up about it.
But Olga Asma says it's not enough.
So people just have to unite everywhere. They have to strike, they have to protest, they have to get out everywhere.
And they are both fearful for the future.
Worst case scenario, there will be a nuclear attack and everyone everywhere just will be destroyed.
We are now literally on the brink of either becoming slaves again and the Iron Curtain drops and that's it, or breaking free, breaking away from this situation, although I think it's almost like there's no way back now.
And for Ukrainians and Russians, the worry now is what happens next. Amy Welch, ITV News.
On to other news tonight. One of our top music schools has apologised after an independent inquiry found a history of sexual abuse. It heard a number of children had suffered abuse by teachers at Chetham's School of Music. Our correspondent Rob Smith joins us live from our newsroom now. So Rob, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, Lucy, there was an apology from the renowned Chetham's School of Music today, an apology they accept can never be enough. A report from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse looking at the horrific actions of some former tutors there decades past, and abuse at a number of other boarding schools has included boarding schools were ideal environments for grooming. The power and influence of eminent music teachers made some pupils even more vulnerable, and it also says the reputation of musicians and the schools themselves were often seen as more important than the victims when abuse came to light. Now today I spoke to someone we're calling Laura. She was abused by her tutor Christopher Ling at Chetham's in the late 80s. When the authorities eventually caught up with him, and it took years, he killed himself. She wants tough new mandatory rules on reporting even suspicions of abuse to the authorities, because she worries society just hasn't changed enough.
Because if that had been in place, then my abuse wouldn't have happened, because other people had reported that he was behaving inappropriately way before. When I'm speaking about what's happened to me, the most common response I get is, well, it's better now. But I'm like, but is it? There's still power imbalances, there's still sexually inappropriate behaviour all around us.
And that's something the inquiry is really keen to stress. It says that the safeguarding and inspection system needs to be better joined up. Children just aren't as safe as they should be in institutions up and down the land, and it wants schools everywhere not to dismiss allegations or concerns, but to accept this could be happening on their watch.
The culture that allows this sort of abuse to happen is still prevalent in many of these institutions today. We still have organisations that don't follow basic safeguarding procedure, don't get DBS checks for volunteers in their schools, don't get DBS checks for supervised staff in their schools. Until we do this, the culture will exist that allows this abuse to happen. And if you have a culture where abuse can happen, it will be happening.
Now, Chetham's have said sorry in their words to every single person affected by this. In a statement, they say, today, all our thoughts are with the victims and survivors. Our school can never apologise enough for the way in which former tutors betrayed and manipulated the trust that had been placed in them, and for the failure to respond appropriately to cases of abuse in the past. They add that today, students' happiness, health and well-being underpins everything they do. They pledge a gold standard of safeguarding.
Rob, thank you. Well, let's move on to sport now. And the question tonight is, could the war in Ukraine now have an impact on Everton, Chris?
still waiting to see how this will affect the club, but Alisher Usmanov, one of Everton's major sponsors, has had his assets frozen by the European Union in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The EU say Usmanov has been referred to as one of Vladimir Putin's favourite oligarchs. The Russian billionaire's company, USM Holdings, sponsors Everton's training ground, and its chairman is Everton's owner, Farhad Moshiri. The company also has the option on the naming rights for Everton's new stadium, a deal worth £30 million to the club. There has been no comment from Everton so far. Well, the war evoked emotional scenes at Goodison Park last weekend, not least a tearful embrace between two Ukrainians, Everton's Vitaly Mykolenko and Manchester City's Alexander Zinchenko, who tonight will again try to overcome his emotion. Zinchenko will play in City's FA Cup fifth-round match at Peterborough. His manager says football is helping him to clear his head.
Of course, cannot be happy, but I think trying to, training sessions with the mates, talking locker room, and football is so addictive, the ball is so attractive and addictive. In a short time, he can forget. But of course, when you come back at home with wife, daughter, and so on, imagine it must be tough.
Well, that FA Cup match is on ITV tonight. Meanwhile, City have learned they'll face Everton in the quarter-finals of the Women's FA Cup. The game is at City's Academy Stadium later this month. Now, though, to boxing, and Morecambe heavyweight Tyson Fury has ridiculed his next world title opponent after Dillian Whyte failed to show up for their press conference today. Instead, he stayed in Portugal training, so that made the head-to-head photos a bit challenging. The pair will eventually meet in the ring at Wembley Stadium next month, and today Tyson came up with a new name for his opponent.
He's called Frillian White Knickers. OK, it's not Dillian White, it's Frillian White Knickers. Because he's as soft as what it says in the title. He's definitely shown the white flag in my estimation of this fight. He's the way he's going on about it. Oh, I don't want to go face to face with Tyson. Of course he don't. Because you see that fire in my eyes and you think, I'm getting killed. I'm getting smashed to bits. You're going to see a boxing masterclass. You're going to see the difference in levels. You're going to see the Ferrari racing the Vauxhall Corsa in a race. I beat men like him 7 days a week and 62 times on a Sunday. And I'm going to prove that to you come April 23rd.
Yeah, always good fun, a Tyson Fury press conference. That's it for tonight, though.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. That's almost it from us for tonight. In a much shorter Granada reports than usual. Just time to say good luck if you are on pancake duty this evening for Shrove Tuesday. If you need some help to make the perfect pancake, you'll find plenty of top tips on our website at itv.com/Granada. Hope we're not too late. On to the weather. Here's Kerry.
He's cooked up a storm and now he's going to scrape the fat into the bin instead of the sink. My guy.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hang on, was that fish?
Hello, very good evening to you. It was a nice day today to round off the first day of March. Chilly start this morning, got down to nearly -3 in Blackpool, but positively spring-like for the first day, of course, of the meteorological spring, and just a little bit of hazy cloud coming in from the south during the course of the afternoon. So that cloud in the south will continue its journey northwards as we head through into the next couple of hours or so. So this has been the scene so far today. So under those clearer skies, frosty conditions, certainly to parts of Cumbria overnight tonight, but elsewhere cloud thickening, misty and murky conditions over higher ground, and if anything, those temperatures lifting towards dawn. Now, first thing this morning, there was a temperature or a cloud inversion over Blackburn. A big thank you to Mariam for this shot and to Mo for this shot. Keep the photos coming. Granada.weather@itv.com. So tomorrow, disappointingly cloudy and damp with outbreaks of mostly light rain and drizzle, but misty and murky, poor visibility over higher ground. And after that chilly start in Cumbria, everyone's seeing those cloudy skies. And then this front merges with tomorrow's front as we head into Thursday, and still a bit of a question mark about where it will sit towards the end of the week. Take care.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Bob!
I'm here!
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Kerry, and good luck with your pancakes tonight. Just time to tell you about the vigil that's just got underway in Liverpool, calling for peace in Ukraine tonight. Hundreds are expected in the city, and we'll be back with reaction from that vigil after news at 10 in our late bulletin. The ITV News follows this programme for all the latest on that story. Good night.